How does a Minecraft server go from 100,000 members on Discord to there not even being enough people online to queue for a game? And how does one of the most hyped servers of Minecraft history, with the attention of some of Minecraft's largest YouTubers, fail to break the mainstream? TubNet and MCCIsland were known as the next Hypixel just a year ago. Now, it seems like no one is even paying any attention to these servers. Why did MCCIsland and TubNet fail to create a community of their own and take their spot as the next era of Minecraft servers? And what led these two servers to fail with their ambitious goals? This is the story of TubNet and MCCIsland. To understand why this happened, we need to learn a bit more about these servers. The first of these servers is TubNet. If you can't tell from the name, TubNet is owned by Tubbo, a large YouTuber with millions of subscribers. This made Tubbo the main face of the server, and the reason that a lot of people are even aware of it. TubNet would release a string of high-quality trailers over the last year, which would amass millions of views and draw initial attention to the project. People would express some frustration over these trailers, because they bared little resemblance to the actual game. One Twitter user by the name of Blitzer says that, "I think the main reason TubNet is failing is, for one, the reveal trailer is just so misleading. You're given the concept that everyone lives in a giant city in a small apartment, and you can explore this huge, colorful world with so much to do. But when you join the server, it's literally just your average game lobby with NPCs to join the game." In the trailer, it gave this appearance of a Lego City style of server where people were traveling on trains and moving around in large groups. It looked very modern and like an exciting idea, but the fact that afterwards, the server was essentially just a minigame server made fans very let down. In this wave of hype, over 100,000 people would join the TubNet Discord, making it one of the most hyped Minecraft servers in a long time. But TubNet would fall as quickly as it rose, seeing massive declines in player base. As I'm writing this, TubNet has only 30 people online, despite its 112,000 sub-YouTube channel, 260,000 followers on Twitter, and 104,000 Discord members. MCCIsland was a bit different. It was brought to us by Nox Crew, the creators of MCC Championship. This meant that the server owners had a lot of connections with well-known YouTubers. You'll probably recognize some of these names: Dream, Captain Sparkles, Skeppy, George Not Found, Sapnap, Preston Plays, and more. Despite being fairly well polished, MCCIsland still exists under closed beta, which is, in my view, essentially a scheme to get kids to pay money just to be able to log on the server. They provide options where you can win a prize to log on, but the reality is, very few people would win this, which forced anyone who wanted to play to pay around £13 or $16 USD for the cheapest option to log on. But what's worse is that they would artificially make these completely virtual tickets out of stock, so you would have to purchase an even more expensive ticket to log on. The result? Kids are using their mom's credit card to pay over £25 or $30 USD just to log on the server. I know this because I was one of those people who had to buy an expensive ticket just to log on because the cheaper one was out of stock. With such a gravy train going, it's no wonder they never opened it up to the public. This meant that MCCIsland would only get a few hundred people a day as its regular player base. This is much more impressive than TubNet, but it pales in comparison to the servers like Hypixel that have much greater player bases. Now that we have a brief understanding of these servers, let's discuss their release. When TubNet was announced it was releasing soon, it had crazy hype around it. Tons of streamers that Tubbo knew were talking about it, but when it came out, the player base did not last. One of the main reasons TubNet failed is because of the lack of marketing. Despite being owned by a prominent YouTuber, Tubbo didn't actually spend much time advertising the server. This really caused a problem because TubNet is primarily a minigame server, which relies on people queuing for games. If there are not enough people on to find a game, you are essentially unable to play the server. Now, on the other hand, MCCIsland had a great start with popularity. MCCIsland already had a decently large community, which came from the Minecraft Championship. As I mentioned earlier, this is a challenge which features some of Minecraft's largest YouTubers. Millions of people tuned in to watch these creators compete, which in turn made people want to play MCCIsland. It was able to promote itself through many different YouTubers, rather than just one or two. Whereas TubNet's popularity came almost exclusively from Tubbo, who wanted his fans to play on the server. Despite this fact, almost none of his streams or videos are even related to the server. There was even one point that people thought the game was still in beta, because of how little people were playing it. Shocking, isn't it? Now, let's get into gameplay. For most Minecraft servers, the quality of gameplay takes a huge part in player sustainability. A lot of the large Minecraft multiplayer servers have one or two specific game modes which are unique for that server. This gives players a unique experience that they can only find by playing on that server, which result in a more active and recurring player base. For example, Hypixel has several staples, those being Bed Wars, Sky Wars, and Skyblock. TubNet only features 3 game modes that players can try out. These game modes are Crystal Rush, Light Strike, and a Battle Royale. All 3 of these game modes have either straight up copied other servers or taken quite some heavy inspiration from servers. Crystal Rush is pretty much a straight up copy of Bed Wars, but in the latest version of 1.19. The gameplay is almost identical to Bed Wars, having players compete against each other to collect resources and kill the enemy teams. The only real difference between Bed Wars and Crystal Rush that I can tell is that instead of the resources just spawning in, you have to actually mine for them. The Battle Royale game mode in TubNet was quite fun, however it was just another take on the survival games concept. This style of gameplay has also been done several times in the past. Even Light Strike, which I consider the most original game concept out of all these, is just a copy of games like CSGO. Let's take a look at the game's description. Starting the game, the players get put into 2 different teams, the placers and the breakers. The placers have an item called the star, which they must plant somewhere on the map and defend against the breakers, whose objective is to remove the star before its time reaches 0 and explodes. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? It's essentially a block-fight version of CSGO. Not only are game modes not unique, but the queue times are horrendously long, sometimes taking up to 20 minutes. I was on the server the other day, and somehow it took me an entire hour to get into a single match. Unless you are an insane fan of Tubbo, there is no point in waiting in these queues. MCC Island, on the other hand, has very unique game modes that can't be found anywhere else. To get to the other side is a racing game mode where you have to compete with other players to cross the map first, which is made even more fun with a variety of modifiers, such as low gravity, knockback weapons, red light, green light, and more. MCC Island also has Hole in the Wall, a challenge where you need to squeeze through increasingly more difficult obstacles with the goal of being the last one standing. It also has modifiers, such as low gravity and weapons which players can use. Battle Box allows players to pick a kit and then battle in a 4v4 scenario. Each kit has unique abilities and potions, with the goal being to either eliminate the other team or to fill in the wall in the middle. The one game mode, which bears some semblance to other servers, is Sky Battle. It reminds me a lot of Hypixel Sky Wars, where you have to open chests in a world over the void. But it's a bit different because you're forced to move towards the middle of the map. As you can see, MCC Island has some fairly unique game modes and some interesting selling points, which may point to why MCC Island has done better than TubNet, whose game modes are very similar to Hypixel and other servers. Now, another reason that TubNet lacked players was because the server did not provide enough stuff to do. This YouTube comment by Witherhide sums it up pretty well. They say that the reason Tubbo doesn't advertise the server is because he is aware that the current server is unfun and lacks replayability. The developers have stated that over the next couple months, we will start to see patches that will add a new game mode, have new events to participate in, and more improvements to the general server. I think if you look at the times Tubbo has played his server on stream, he has noticed these issues and is waiting for them to be fixed before he hardcore advertises it. We are speculating a bit, but it does seem to make sense, and several other users have stated the same things in forums. It would explain why Tubbo has put very little time into advertising the server. Perhaps they are waiting on further updates, but only time will tell. When the pandemic hit in 2020, tons of players bought Minecraft, and the game saw one of its largest resurgences in years. This was a boom period, and many people thought it would go on forever. But after 2 or 3 years, Minecraft in general has been steadily losing these players. Perhaps, if people had more time aside, and if Minecraft saw that period of growth go on for longer, they would have seen more success. But MCC Island and TubNet had the misfortune of launching in 2022, right after they missed their moment. However, it's not too late to write them out yet. Let's discuss some ways these servers can move forward in the future. Right now, TubNet is in a comparatively worse place than MCC Island because the server is fully open and has low players. So they would need some large announcement or change to bring people back, or perhaps some further advertisement from Tubbo. But TubNet could release some new game modes or move to new updates and attract players in that way. In my view, the most important thing for TubNet is to provide a reason for players to log on day after day. MCC Island is still in closed beta and therefore has the opportunity to do a very public release. After the money has run dry requiring people to pay for overpriced memberships to log on, they can go for a free-to-play version and try to make their money from cosmetics, ranks, and other paid options. MCC Island also has other game modes in the works, such as Parkour mode. This means that things are definitely not over for Nox Crew's server. They can use the publicity for the full release to draw in players, and they can also add these game modes that are in the works. Moreover, MCC Island still has contact with many YouTubers who can aid in marketing the server. But they shouldn't take too long. The hype will not be around forever. And if MCC Island doesn't do something, they could see themselves in a similar position to TubNet. Make sure to leave a comment down below if there are any changes you want to see added to MCCIsland or TubNet. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.